You're welcome once again to another edition of Rick Chupon. I am your host, Femi Odulaja. Today, we'll be talking about the major factors that influence oil prices. Oil prices are influenced by three major components. You may use factors: the supply, demand, and the geopolitics. When economic activity increases in an economy, the demand for oil increases, so also the supply. And the ripple effect is an increase in the price of oil. Supply has to do with how much oil is available. Oil prices crash as the producers pumped more than the world could consume, while demand is determined by how much need there is for oil at any given time. Geopolitics will put it at all those things that has to do with global regulatory bodies. What influence do they actually have? Sometimes we're talking about America going into shale oil. The crude oil price is determined by global supply and demand. Demand increases or supply decreases, the price of crude oil increases. Vis-a-vis, as the demand decreases or supply increases, the price of crude oil decreases. We have talked about the three major components that influence the crude oil price. Don't forget we talked about supply, demand, geopolitics. But what impact does that have on the economy of individual countries? Take Nigeria, for example. The benchmark for our budget was at $57 per barrel.
The parameters for the 2020 budget. We have adopted a conservative oil price benchmark of $57 United States dollars per barrel. Daily oil production of 2.18 million barrels per day.
Don't forget that the crude oil actually represents about 80 to 90% of Nigeria's source of income, source of economy. So our budget is solely, majorly based on what happens within the sector. So if we had benchmarked the crude oil price per barrel for $57 and it went as low as $30 per barrel, you know what that means? We benchmarked our production for 2.2 million barrels per day. Now, if you do the calculation at 57, what would we be having? And it is based on this that we budgeted that we will do this for infrastructure, for recurring. Now, we're doing $30 per barrel. Are we actually doing 2.2? Let's assume we're doing 2.2 million barrels per day. If you look at it, we have a shortfall of $27. How does that affect our budget? How does that affect our funding? So you can imagine the impact of the price fluctuation in the crude oil markets and the oil and gas sector. Needless do I need to tell you that we're beginning to look at bringing it down to 20-something now. Our production capacity had dipped from 2.2 million barrels per day to 1.7 million per day. So we have a shortfall of about 400,000 barrels. Just to highlight what the fluctuating prices of crude oil could do to countries' economy. We'll leave it at that. Don't forget that you can reach us on our social media handle. Till next edition, I remain your host, Femi Odulaja. Stay safe and stay alive. Thank you.